And thanks for being here tonight. Bulldogs Live with Coach Kirby Smart. And we are here in Athens with our friends from Georgia Farm Bureau tonight. And, folks, thanks for being here. And let's let our radio audience know that you are alive and breathing in here as we get ready for tonight's show. It's presented by Wells Fargo, an official sponsor of the Georgia Bulldogs. And we'll fire some questions at Coach Smart from our social media platforms. Hashtag AskCoachSmart is how you can get them to us anytime, and that's brought to you by Greenpoint Ag, farmer-owned and locally focused. Coach is here and ready to take on the Florida Gators. That's a Saturday afternoon contest in Jacksonville in the traditional 3:30 or the 3:39 official kick time slot there on CBS, and we'll have it for you here on the Bulldogs Sports Network starting at 11:30. Our coverage begins bright and early, 11:30 Saturday morning, so we hope you can join us for that. Kirby, good to see you as always, and this is always a big week. There's not a whole lot of revving up that you need to do for this week. Everybody's kind of on the same page.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's not hard to get the guys fired up to go practice. So many of our kids are from whether it's South Georgia or the state of Florida. They get fired up for this one, and so they know the what's at stake.
Yeah, the last game was 2 weeks ago on Saturday against Vanderbilt, a win in Nashville, then an off week. What are some of the things that you went through during maybe a little bit of downtime that possibly you had and the team had before you got back to work for the Gators?
Well, we practiced, Monday walkthrough, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday practice. There wasn't a lot of time Friday recruiting. Saturday was kind of the off day. Players could go home, see their families, and then, we were back at it kind of as a staff on Sunday preparing. So it was back to the game week. It flies by like it does every year, but you do get a little reprieve, a little chance to go back and remember what you're fighting for. And our players have done that and had good juices this week, as I'm sure they have too. They have the off week, so it's a lot of how you manage that. It's important.
I'm sure all those guys look forward to even one day off and try to reboot a little bit and come back fresh and bushy-tailed and bright-eyed and bushy-tailed on Sunday night or Monday whenever you guys kick it in again.
Yeah, they do a good job. They get Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so they get the kind of 3 days off. We don't as coaches. Obviously, we got a lot to do, but those players get that time, and hopefully they use it to refuel.
7-0 is your record so far. 4-0 in the SEC. Tell us about what do you feel about your team right now as you're going into this game?
Well, we're still looking for our best outing. We were looking for our best performance, and we think that the best is ahead, and that we're going to continue to grow and develop our roster and get better. There's a lot of things that we can get better on. Do I know if they'll all happen? It just doesn't happen that way in football. You do the best you can each week, and you put the best plan together and let the players go out and have an opportunity to make some plays.
I was looking at some of the SEC statistics this week, and boy, Georgia's really top of the heap defensively and offensively, but defensively, so many categories where right now you're number one in the league over and over again. Did you feel like this was a unit that could establish that kind of I don't want to say dominance, but that kind of a resume, if you will, at this point in the season?
I don't know that we've played to our standard. To be honest with you, we don't measure our defense on statistics or rankings for sure. We measure it on how we feel like we play, and the standard's been set really high around here, and and we probably haven't played to that level that we need to. We have in some areas. I would say third down we've played really well, but outside of that, there's some areas that need improvement, and we have to help them as coaches, and they have to buy into that and execute at a high level. And we're going to play good teams through the stretch run, and we're looking to play our best ahead.
What's the story there on that third down conversion play? I mean, you're like number one in the nation on third down conversion against the opponent.
Well, a lot of it has to do with first and second down, and if you average the longest third down attempts, then you're going to do well. But you're a game away from 5 third and ones, and you don't stop any of them, and you're not first. And, it's hard to stop people on 3rd and 1, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4. It's hard to stop people that go for it on 4th, because it doesn't matter if you stop them on 3rd if they go for it on 4th and get it. So the stats can lie. That's not what's important. What's important to me is that our guys play with a certain tenacity, a certain attitude and dominance on both sides of the ball. And for the most part, I feel like both sides of the ball have played that way, but they got to continue that.
Georgia and Florida Saturday afternoon in Jacksonville. We'll have it for you here on the Bulldogs Sports Network. Hope you can join us at 3:40, 3:39. Welcome back to tonight's show, Bulldogs Live with Coach Kirby Smart. Questions from you on social media coming your way in just a few moments. And dog fans, make sure you check out the G Shop at georgiadogs.com for exclusive releases of Nike Game Day official apparel, just like the coaches wear. Visit georgiadogs.com and the G Shop today. Our program tonight presented by Wells Fargo, an official sponsor of the Georgia Bulldogs. And tonight's questions from hashtag Ask Coach Smart, brought to you by Greenpoint Ag, farmer-owned and locally focused. And let's go to that stash of questions, Coach. And let's see, Jacob in Blakely, Georgia, wants to know if the practices were rigorous this week, or did you try to utilize some rest?
Well, you always try to do a little bit of both, right? I mean, if you're not careful, you can come out of an off week tired and exhausted. But if you're also not careful, you can, get not ready for the intensity of a game. So we try to hit a balance in the middle and ask the guys to crank it up at point in times during the week and play a game-like speed, game-like atmosphere, but then also give them a little bit of downtime and do a walkthrough. So there's a balance there, and we've always tried to find that. I don't know exactly what the right thing is, because at this point in time in the season, you're trying to get the guys to the game.
How long are you on the field on a daily basis now? And I know there's film work and stuff that guys do around that, but how long is your actual practice time?
Try to be an hour and 40 max, and as low as an hour 15. So, hour 40 some days, hour 15 somewhere in between there.
And I think the description of those practices, it goes. I mean, you value every second of that practice.
Yeah, I value every second they're on their feet and moving. So if you're going to be out there and do it, don't make people be on their feet not doing anything. So we want to be efficient with our time, not a lot of standing around, not a lot of waiting. Get the reps, get the work done, get in, get off, and get them rehabbed.
Our friends from Georgia Farm Bureau are here tonight, and we'll take a question from our audience. This is Ricky. Hi, Ricky. Welcome to the show. And what's your question for the coach?
Who lifts the most weight on the team?
Oh, man. We got some strong dudes. Michael Morris, Dylan Fairchild, the two offensive linemen that both play guard are probably two of our strongest guys. They bench, power clean, and squat a lot of weight. I don't know the exact number, but nobody wants to mess with Dylan or Michael Morris.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ricky. Michael lined up in the backfield. Which game was that? Was that Vanderbilt?
That was Vanderbilt.
Yeah, that was fun to see. You've had Jalen Carter in that position before. Who else has lined up in that formation over the years?
Back there.
Oh, that's right. He got a touchdown.
Yeah, sure did.
Yeah, so that was good to see, and boy, they cleared a hole too.
He did. He didn't end up blocking anybody.
I think it was Tate and Tate Ratledge and Micah Morris that just cleaned up the right side, and Dejan just waltzed into the end zone.
Sure did.
A good looking play. Another question from hashtag Ask Coach Smart. Dave in Atlanta, do you and Coach Billy Napier still stay in touch? He was at Alabama for a little while you were there.
Yeah, I mean, in touch in terms of it, annual meetings. We go to head coaches meetings, and unfortunately, G and F are close alphabetically. So Georgia and Florida, I get to sit next to whoever the Florida coach is every year. I haven't figured out why they do that every time, but they should probably, move that around sometimes. But I like Billy a lot, and I got a lot of respect for Billy. He grew up very similar to how I did. His dad was one of the best high school coaches in the state of Georgia for a long time, and have a lot of respect for Billy.
Dave, thanks for your question. Mary in Griffin, Georgia, if you recognize players on the other team from recruiting, do you speak to them after the game?
If I had a relationship with them or really knew them, we might shake hands or, say good luck the rest of the way, but not really. I mean, nowadays people think you're trying to steal their players if you do that. Out of respect, I like to do it because you form a relationship with guys sometimes, and you tell them, no matter where you go, I'm going to support you, with the exception of when we play you, and
right.
You still want to do that. There's a lot of kids that we've recruited on their roster, and they've recruited on ours, so it's a mutual respect thing. Yeah,
just about everybody you play nowadays. I mean, there's some intermingling going on, guys that you know and guys that the other team knows on our squad, and on and on and on, and guys that even played for both schools. I mean, they have guys transfer so much now, so you get a little bit of that too.
That's right.
Drew in Conyers, Georgia. What was it like being able to go to high school games last week?
It's always great. I love getting back out in the high school atmosphere. It's one of the most pure experiences I think there is. The passion, the energy, the pageantry, the high school bands, the cheer squads, the local community support. I think that's good. I think that's good for the community. I think it's good for people, kids growing up. There's 80% of those kids that'll never play a down of football after high school, and they learn a lot about life through football. So to support the state and high school football in our state, I enjoy that.
How many games can you squeeze in one night?
Well, it's hard to do it the right way. I mean, I didn't go to but one game last week, and it's hard to go to multiple games because then you're just in and out, and it's hard to do. You could probably get a couple in Atlanta, though.
You get a good parking spot, though.
Well, if you know the right person. Yeah.
Okay, let's step aside for just a moment, and we'll come back for more questions for Coach Smart. This is Bulldogs Live, presented by Wells Fargo. And back here on the Thursday night edition of Bulldogs Live with Coach Kirby Smart. Thank you for listening, and thanks to our friends from Georgia Farm Bureau for being here in Athens tonight as our audience. And we remind you to be sure to follow Georgia Bulldogs All Access on social media by searching at UGA_GBSM. Georgia Bulldogs Sports Marketing provides your inside connection to UGA athletics with exclusive updates and behind-the-scenes content, including Kirby Smart's All Access TV show. Follow at UGA_GBSM. Your questions on social media, hashtag AskCoachSmart is how you get them to us. They're brought to you by Greenpoint Ag, farmer-owned and locally focused. And before we take another question from that stash, let's take one from our audience, and this is Tammy. Hi, Tammy, from Georgia Farm Bureau, our friends here affiliated with Georgia Farm Bureau Insurance. Thanks for being here tonight, and go ahead with your question.
I was wondering, has your belt loop ever ripped?
Actually, no. It may rip from my belly pushing on it too much, but everybody asks that about the strength coach pulling on me and snatching, but he's never torn it off yet. I think they may have to sew it up after some games. It gets a little loose. I never have understood why they don't give me a new pair of pants, but they just keep giving me the same ones, and he pulls on that belt loop pretty hard, so it is not torn that I know of.
Maybe you can just get thanks, Tammy. Maybe you can just get an elastic pair.
That would
help. Stretch it out. Is that a necessary evil? Do you feel like you need to be reminded to stay in your lane, so to speak, on the sidelines?
Well, if you ask the officials, definitely, because they constantly giving us warnings. It's dangerous for them, because they have to get up and down the sideline, and if I'm blocking the sideline, and most of the time what happens, the players are too far out of their area, which then pushes me out of my area, and I'm in the officials' area, and then that can cause a train wreck there between myself and the officials.
So you guys in sync, you and Scott, as far as what his job is, what his responsibility is to keep you in check there.
Yeah, I mean, you don't realize where you are sometimes, and next thing you know, you're out on the field and you don't really know you're out there.
Hashtag Ask Coach Smart. Let's grab a question from that list. Blake in Jefferson, Georgia, wants to know if there are any memories that stick out from this venue down in Jacksonville.
Well, it's changed over the time. They've renovated the stadium, I don't know, several times, and it's certainly nicer than I remember when I would go as a player. And when I returned to Georgia, it was the first time I returned to that stadium, where the other stadiums in the SEC I had been going to. I had not gone to Jacksonville in a long time. And then when we returned, I guess 8 years ago, it certainly has improved, and the seating is so unique. They have the stadium-style seating all across the stadium, and it makes for a more positive experience in the NFL, even though it holds less people. So it's a tremendous place to have a football game.
Do the players get excited about playing in an NFL stadium, or is that just kind of passé now because you do it at a lot of different places?
They don't say much about it. I know they enjoy the pageantry of this game, and the place we play is nice. It's a nice locker room. It's a good experience, and it's a great atmosphere. So I think they look more forward to the atmosphere regardless of whether it's an NFL stadium or not.
Another question from hashtag Ask Coach Smart. Stephen in Valdosta, Georgia. How difficult is it for our guys to juggle studies with football?
Well, it's hard. The academic prowess of the state of Georgia has made it one of the best top 10, 15 schools in the country in terms of public education, and we're up against some unbelievable students in the classroom. So if you're going to measure yourself, you're measuring yourself against the best on the football field in the SEC and the best in the classroom at UGA. So it is a challenge, and we get our guys a lot of academic support, and it requires a lot of effort on their part.
I see on social media, I think every week you do this, but you have like the academic athletes of the week from the football team, and there's usually, what, 3 or 4 guys that you guys highlight during the week, so that's always nice to see, and know that those guys are working hard in the classroom as well.
That's right. Positive reinforcement's important. They need to hear when they're doing it right.
Miles in Alpharetta, Georgia, he's got a football question. What jumps off the tape from Florida's offense for you?
Well, their ability to take shots down the field packaged with the run game. You know, Billy does a really nice job of marrying up the run game with vertical patterns, and you want to be able to consistently run the ball and take shots. It's what good offenses do, and their quarterback's done a good job of that, and their O-line protecting it.
Their defensive coordinator was here for a brief time, right, as a quality control. Is that right?
Yes, he worked with us as a quality control analyst.
What do you remember about him for the I guess it was the 1 year that he was here?
Yeah, he did a great job. He very energetic, passionate. Didn't limit himself to a role. He was very aggressive in terms of providing help, providing knowledge, recruiting. He didn't, he wasn't afraid to speak up, and you could tell he was going to be good. He was the reason we picked him was because of that. He went on to be the defense coordinator at Southern Miss and did a great job there. He got hired at Alabama for about a month, and then he went to Florida from there. So he's risen really quickly.
Yeah, a young guy. I think he's 30 years old or something like that. So he's young in the business, but he's already in a very good position there on the Florida staff. Georgia and Florida Saturday at 3:39 is the official kick time in Jacksonville. We'll have it for you starting at 11:30 a.m. here on the Bulldogs Sports Network. Hope you can find some time to join us on your Bulldog Football Saturday. And join us in just a moment when we continue with tonight's show. This is Bulldogs Live, presented by Wells Fargo, an official sponsor of the Georgia Bulldogs. And we'll come back for more questions for Coach Kirby Smart right after this on the Bulldogs Sports Network. Coach Kirby Smart taking your questions tonight here on Bulldogs Live. Thanks for being with us. Tickets for the Georgia Bulldogs basketball season are available right now. And coming up Monday, October 30th, the Bulldogs will play a charity exhibition game against Eastern Kentucky. Those tickets are now on sale, and that's a fundraiser, so you can buy your ticket, and it will help. The proceeds will benefit the American Red Cross disaster relief efforts, with a focus on those impacted in South Georgia by Hurricane Idalia a little bit ago. General admission tickets are $5 for the public. UGA students will be admitted free of charge with a valid UGA ID. That's coming up Monday night, Georgia basketball against Eastern Kentucky, a charity exhibition game. And also, in addition to the tickets for the exhibition game, an extremely limited number of season tickets remain available for the Bulldogs' 18-game home schedule at Stegman Coliseum. Also available 3-game and 6-game flex plans for tickets to the Bulldogs basketball season coming up. All of that on sale and available at georgiadogs.com/MBBTIX, or you can call the UGA ticket office at 706-542-1231. Do you get a chance to check out basketball much during the season?
Well, not during our season. I watched it during theirs.
Yeah.
I mean, I like going to basketball games and enjoyed both our men's and women's programs. And I know Mike got an incredible commit. I guess it was yesterday or day before, and big news. And excited that we're getting that kind of talent level back here, and the trust that he has in Coach White. So I know everybody will be looking forward to seeing these guys play.
Yeah, lots of fun. It starts Monday night with that charity exhibition game, 6:30 at Stegman Coliseum. Hope you can turn out for that. georgiadogs.com for tickets if you are interested. Let's grab another question from our audience here, from our friends from Georgia Farm Bureau. This is David. Hi, David. Welcome to the show. What's your question for the coach?
So I have a question. In a cage match, who would win, Superman, Chuck Norris, or Brock Bowers?
Oh, man, Brock Bowers is undefeated in that. There's no doubt. I mean, cage match, he can dominate, right? Keep him in a small area. He is Superman and Chuck Norris combined. So
Chuck Norris is like 80 years old. He wouldn't have a chance.
I think he was talking about in his prime.
In his prime, yeah.
Yes, it's a bad man.
What do you think about Heisman? What do you think about Heisman prospects?
That's in for who?
For Brock.
Well, it's tough with the injury. You know, it's been one of those deals that if you're not out there playing, it makes it hard. I certainly thought he was having that kind of season in terms of the numbers and the stuff he's putting up. But a lot of things he can't control and he doesn't control. And he'll be the first to say he's a lot more interested in team awards than individual ones.
David, thanks for your question. We appreciate you being here tonight. It's time for our look ahead, brought to you by the Governor's Office of Highway Safety. The penalty for getting a DUI can cost up to $10,000. That's why the Governor's Office of Highway Safety says drive sober so you won't get pulled over. And just, Coach, just some general thoughts on what you're expecting on Saturday afternoon.
Well, excited. Want to see these guys go play again. And, you know, we've talked to the team about nobody has to be Superman. And as a matter of fact, if you think you do, then you're probably wrong. And you'll probably be disappointed because we want to go out and play our best game. We want to play a complete complementary game of the three phases. And the way you do that is prepare. And we've prepared well. And we're going to play a really good opponent. And I do think it'll be a four-quarter game. The way they play and the way they manage the clock, I said this last year, it's just going to make things shrink and play tighter, and you have to be comfortable playing in close games, and we've been in some this year.
Yeah, we've seen that happen in several games. Which one was it where there was like one possession for each team in one quarter? Was that Vanderbilt also?
I don't know.
They're all kind of jumbled together for me, but there was
early in the year.
One game that we played that we had a possession and they had a possession, and that was it.
Yeah,
that was the end of
crazy.
the quarter.
It could be like that because they're very methodical with it.
Another question from hashtag #AskCoachSmart. That's brought to you by Greenpoint Ag, by the way. Greenpoint Ag, farmer-owned and locally focused. Tucker in Winder, Georgia, wants to know what your expectations are for Oscar Delp and Lawson Lucky.
I have no expectations. I mean, people try to put all the pressure on them, and that's the average fan's thought is that, oh, it has to be them now. No, it does not. They have to play the same game they would have played otherwise. We're not asking them to step into Brock Bowers' role or shoes. We're asking everybody to step up their game. So the defense has to make more stops. The punter has to punt it further. The coverage unit has to return it or cover it better, and the offensive line has to protect a little better. I mean, everybody's got to step it up in terms of what we do, but nobody has to be anything outside of themselves.
That's kind of your message every week, though, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's true. We need to be at our best every week. We need to do everything we can to play our best and not overcomplicate things and be aggressive. And that's what we want to do. That's been our mantra the whole time is how do we stay on the attack.
Larry in East Cobb, Georgia, how have the offensive skill players responded to Brock being unavailable?
They've had no issue. They've all stepped their game up, and you know we've had practices. We had a lot of fall camp with Brock not there because we didn't overuse him. You know, it was that game practices. We just said, hey, look, he's going to be out of the scrimmage, and we're going to go out there and work, and he might get a little time, but you know we've tried to develop skill around him because we knew that was the key to the success. Is he's going to get his number and his place. Now we got to bring the guys along. And fortunately, we've had some games where we've had leads and we've gotten some other guys the ball, and that'll be the case Saturday. Other guys are going to have to make some plays.
Larry, thanks for your question. You can send them in anytime. Hashtag AskCoachSmart. It's brought to you by Greenpoint Ag, farmer-owned and locally focused. I'll focus and we'll step aside and take a commercial break and come back for more of your questions for the coach. This is Bulldogs Live, presented by Wells Fargo, an official sponsor of the Georgia Bulldogs. Back in a moment on the Bulldogs Sports Network. Back here on Bulldogs Live with Coach Kirby Smart, and special thanks to our friends from Georgia Farm Bureau for being here tonight. And Georgia fans, if you want to do an NIL deal with a dog, go to georgiadogs.com/NIL to connect with a student athlete on a sponsorship, a commercial, an appearance, an autograph session, and lots more. georgiadogs.com. georgiafootball.com/NIL. And let's grab a question from our audience. This is Trey. Hi, Trey. Welcome to the show tonight, and go ahead with your question.
Sure. What's your favorite stadium to play outside of Sanford, obviously?
Well, that's hard. The one that's easiest to play in would probably be my favorite, and there are none that are easy. So I like the ones that turn into Georgia fans, but that's hard to do in a lot of them. But there's so many in the SEC that are such great atmospheres, man. That's what makes our conference so different. I mean, we've been the top attendance conference for like 20 or 30 years in a row, and they're so passionate, Jacksonville's great because of the pageantry. It's different, and hadn't got to play in Gainesville but a couple times when I was at LSU and Alabama, so that one's a little different too. I would probably have to say outside of our own, the experiences we've had in Jacksonville have been very memorable.
Thanks for your question. We appreciate it. Let's grab one from #AskCoachSmart. That's brought to you by Greenpoint Ag, farmer-owned, locally focused, and Joy in Bogart, Georgia. What are some names that you are expecting to step up on our defensive front down the stretch?
Yeah, the guys that build the wall over there, Nas, Warren, Zelo, you start with the heart of your defense. They can't be moved. If they get moved, we're probably in trouble. And then across the front, Michael Williams and Trammell have done a great job. We're hopeful to get Ty Ingram Dawkins back here soon. He was able to go some during the week, and hoping that we'll get some help out of him and build that front wall. Chaz has done a great job. So when you say the front in particular, there's about 7-8 guys that play across that front, and they'll determine at least a lot of the outcome of this game, whether or not they can be moved. If you can move people, you usually win games, and if you can't move people, you usually don't, and we don't need them to get moved.
Are most teams using multiple guys on that front line, just keeping a steady rotation going there for freshness and for health reasons too, maybe 7-8 guys or more during a game?
Yeah, I think across the country it's pretty much what you have to do. You may not have enough quality players to do that, but you'll wear down your quality players if you don't. So you have to find a way to play, guys and rotate them, because it's such a strain position to play the defensive line. Offensive lines don't typically sub. We do sub some of ours, but the defensive line subs a lot.
And why would that be? Can you explain that?
Really can't. I mean, other than the fact that you want the continuity of an offensive line, and you can't say an offensive lineman doesn't give effort. They play really hard too, but the defense is straining to rush the passer more and chasing the ball probably more than the offensive line a lot of times.
Another question from #AskCoachSmart. You talked about this a little bit earlier, but Todd in Athens, Georgia, sent this one in. Did the players get any downtime during the bye week?
They did. They had Friday, Saturday, Sunday, like we talked about, and worked really hard during the week to earn that time, and then got some downtime those days. And you worry about not having too much time off, because I wish they had more, but you do worry about losing game speed, being in game shape, because the only way to get in game shape is play games. And so when you skip that game, I've seen teams come off bye weeks lethargic, not in shape, and we've really tried to attack that this week. I thought that we got tired last year in the fourth quarter, third quarter, specifically on defense. So we tried to stomp that out this week.
Is that your biggest concern as a coach when you know you've got time off coming for the entire team? Is that the lethargic feeling may be coming back, or is it something else?
That's the biggest worry. It's always that. I mean, I call them sometimes the warm fuzzies. When you go from hitting somebody every day for 100 days, and we've gone 100 consecutive days of like practice, and then all of a sudden you go 3 days without it, sometimes they come back and they don't really want to go up there and hit somebody. So you got to get back in that mood.
We'll take a timeout with Coach Smart. We've got one final segment with the coach, so we'll get some more questions in for Kirby when we come back. This is Bulldogs Live, presented by Wells Fargo, an official sponsor of the Georgia Bulldogs. Thanks for being with us throughout the first hour of tonight's show. Don't forget, another hour of Bulldogs football talk coming your way with Neil Williamson and the Bulldogs All-Stars, and they'll take your phone calls tonight and talk Georgia football up until 9 o'clock this evening. And Dog fans, for all of your information needs, you can log on to GeorgiaDogs.com. From tracking event results to exclusive behind-the-scenes coverage, GeorgiaDogs.com has you covered. And we've got our friends from Georgia Farm Bureau here tonight as our audience. They've been here all night long, and we've got a question from our audience. This is Palmer. Hi, Palmer. Welcome to the show. What's your question for Coach Smart?
I am going to my first Georgia-Florida game Saturday. Have you ever been to the game as a fan?
That is a great question. I actually have, and everybody will be holding their breath because they think I was doing some sign stealing, but I was not. I was actually I was coaching at the Miami Dolphins, and we had the week off in the NFL, and I'd never been to a Georgia-Florida game in my life. And I'd been as a player, and I'd been as a coach, and I wanted to go as a fan. So I flew from Miami to Jacksonville, went to the game, and I had recruited a lot of the players that were then playing for Georgia, and I enjoyed it a lot. It was a really, really great atmosphere. So just be careful because there's a lot of Gators walking around, okay?
Thanks, Palmer. Thank you for being here tonight. Yeah, well, did you have a good experience overall as a Joe fan in the stadium?
It was different. I'll just say that. I realized a lot of the people around me didn't know what the hell they were talking about. Swore I'd never go back.
Did you partake of all the activities in the parking lot around the stadium and all that festiveness that's going on out there?
That will remain unknown.
All right, we'll leave it there then. A couple more questions from hashtag Ask Coach Smart. That's brought to you by Greenpoint Ag, farmer-owned, locally focused. Antoine in Danielsville, Georgia, what are some ways you've been stressing mental toughness since this will likely be our toughest stretch of the schedule as we get into November?
Yeah, we spend a lot of time on it in the off season. We talk, we build that into our culture, and that's really part of camp. People are like, why do you make camp hard? Because the season's hard, and we can't do certain things in the season, so we have to build that DNA trait of mental toughness and physical toughness up all year. And you do that so that you can relinquish some of that time and stress and toughness building in the season. But we hope that we have built enough up and are in a good place because they're a mentally tough program and team as well. They play that way. So it'll be two brands of football going toe-to-toe and being really physical, and that's what this game's about.
And certainly we're all looking forward to Saturday afternoon in Jacksonville. The Bulldogs and the Gators will get it going at 3:39 is the official kick time. And, well, that's going to do it for the hour. Coach, thanks so much for your time as always, and good luck in Jacksonville on Saturday.
Thank you as well. Go Dogs.